for educational critical review and reaction is the late, great Jordan Maxwell.
The FBI, the CIA have released a plethora of information regarding UFO sightings and everything else. But what's your take on what's happening today?
I am sure that this government is highly connected to the extraterrestrial presence. There is no doubt in my mind that there is an extraterrestrial presence, something, a life form that we do not understand and do not know anything about, we the people. But there are government agencies who have been looking into this subject for many, many years, and I'm sure that they have made contact with us, and we have been contacting them and talking with them. There's no doubt in my mind about it because I've seen too much and I've heard too much, and I've had my own personal experiences. And so I think that a lot of our really high technology was given to us by these extraterrestrial. That's what it seems to be happening. And I read so many books and heard so many different stories from astronauts, military people, very important industrialists, people I know, and they have told me that they're getting their information from the extraterrestrials, fiber optics, lasers, all kinds of high technology. So I know that we humans are being led. I always try and say on all radio shows, I always say, I am not the world's foremost authority on anything. Why? Because I have learned how much I don't know. So I don't consider myself to be a world-class authority, but I do consider that the one thing I do consider is important about what I do are the people that I have met in my life. I have met so many interesting and important people. Somehow or another, I meet them. I don't know how, but I end up in the company of extraordinarily powerful people over the years, and they have told me things in private. And so after a while, I've come to the point where I know that I'm meeting people for a reason, and I'm collecting information for a reason, and I know what the reason is. I have to tell people what's going on. I have to try and help those people who want to know what's going on. I have to try and help them to hear and understand the things I've been given. Because I've been in the company of some very important people in this world that I'm not the expert, but I know who the experts are, and I've been in their company. I've listened to them, and I've learned from them, and that's what I try and do now, is I try and give to people the information I've been given, and do it in such a way as I don't get myself in trouble or anybody else.
Okay,
because you can get in trouble if you know too much.
Okay, so is there any information that you have that you could tell us that's of importance, maybe something that's happening now or coming down the line that we need to know about?
I think probably the most important thing is the religions that we believe in. I think that's where the real answer is, because we as humans are hardwired, so to speak, about religion. So many people believe in things that they don't understand. They have no background to understand. And so they are misled into believing things which aren't true or which they're not interpreting correctly. The words and the terms and the ideas that we use, we don't understand. In government, in religion, in our institutions, our education, our military, we humans use words that we don't understand. And I think that's the most important thing, is to find out where your ideas have come from. I like the idea of your show being called Open Your Mind, because your mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. And so I like the idea of helping people to wake up to what words mean, what the ideas mean, and where they came from, and how did we get to be who we are today, and where are we going, where all you have to do is understand where you come from, where you are now, and draw a straight line out, and now you know where you're going. But most people don't know where they've come from. They don't understand the history of the world. And so they don't know where they've come from. They don't know what they're doing now. So how would they know where they're going? They don't. They just live each day, never realizing that you are on a ride to somewhere. You're going somewhere as a human being. You are evolving into something every day. You're moving towards something. But most people have no idea where they're going or what they're doing or where they've been. And so that's what I try and do, is explain to the people of this world, nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. There's a bigger world, and it's far, far deeper and far, far darker than you know.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely vouch for that. You know, with the years that you've been involved in this subject matter, I'm sure you've come across the naysayers and the people who would call you a conspiracy theorist and everything. What, after years of doing this, what's your approach to them? What way do you tackle them?
I have come to the conclusion of, I've been doing what I do, talking to people as far back as 1959, which is exactly 59 years ago. Almost 60 years ago, I started talking. As a 19-year-old boy, I started talking and giving lectures at little small groups, like in a library. I would rent a library room for the day, and I would talk about the fact that I'm going to be speaking on a particular subject. And so I've been talking to audiences for almost 60 years. But I have had so many people that don't want to hear what I'm talking about. So many people do not want. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a secret about people that I have learned. It's a very deep secret most people will not understand. But I have discovered that people will always support financially and every other way. They will support what they want. They will not support what they don't want. If you're going to buy clothes, people will buy the clothes that they want to buy. They will not buy clothes that they don't like. People, if they're going to go out to eat, they will go to where they want to eat, not go where they don't want to eat. And they will pay and support businesses that they like. They will not go to movies that they don't like. So therefore, the bottom line is people will always support what they want. They will not pay for and support what they don't want. And if history has taught us anything, it has taught us over thousands of years, most people don't want to hear the truth. It's like the movie where the young attorney asked the guy on the stand, I want the truth. And he said, you can't handle the truth. That's what I have found. Most people don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe what they want to believe, and they will pay for it. They will financially support what they want. They will not financially support what they don't want to hear. And most people don't want to hear the truth. And so I understand that, but I feel that I am not supposed to decide anything. I just do what I do, and whoever hears me, they're supposed to hear me. And if they don't hear me, they're not supposed to hear me. And so I don't care. I just do what I do, and if it's supposed to be heard, it will be. And if it's not supposed to be heard, it won't. I don't care. I just do what I do and see where it goes. Because it's not really my work. I feel there's a spiritual presence in my work. Whatever I'm doing is to wake people up And of course, as you said, I have been successful in being able to be heard, and I've been very successful in meeting important people. I've sat in the company of astronauts, military people, mafiosis, gangsters, politicians, teachers, authors, lecturers, writers. In Hollywood, I've sat with some of the most important people in Hollywood and hear what they're doing and see what the studios are doing. So I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of very important people and hear a lot of stories. And some of them were very scary, very frightening, and some of them were very incredibly interesting. So that's what I do. That's why I feel the importance of what I do, is I just try to tell the people and share with the world the things which I have learned. I'm not an expert on anything, but I have had some very extremely important experiences. And the one subject which I have always loved, even before I started speaking publicly about it, it was theology and religion. I've always been interested in about the story of God and who is God, where is God, what are you talking about? When you talk about God, I learned a long time ago you need to explain your ideas. You need to clarify your ideas. When you use a word, maybe other people understand that word, but they understand it a different way. So you need to define your terms. So when I use a term, I usually try and explain what I'm talking about, because I know other people may be thinking something different. And so I have learned that most people will not support you when you're telling them the truth. That's why in the Bible, in the story of Jesus in the Bible, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Am I to become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" There's always been a problem in theology and religion. If you know something you're not supposed to know, people don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to face the truth. And so that's what I try and do, is just help people to wake up and learn how much they don't know, because I want to give back to the human family what I've been given.
Yeah, and of course, what we said before the show, we would also call a cognitive dissonance, that you just don't want the truth. Right, Jordan, we have loads of questions that has come in. Obviously, we knew this would happen, so we're going to go over to the questions just a little bit earlier than normal, just to throw over the questions to you so we can get as many questions in the time that we have. So, Steve, do you want to take the two here that's on this first?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we've had two questions that emailed into us before the show during the week. So we're going to start off with them two, and then we'll crack on with the questions in the chat room. Steve.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, Jordan, here we go. First question. Could you please ask Jordan what the one symbol is that is used worldwide?
Yeah, the most incredibly important symbol that has ever been developed in the human mind, that has been around since mankind has been on the earth. It's an extremely, extremely important symbol, and that is something you see every day, everywhere, and you never thought about it. It's the sun. The sun has been used in every facet of human life. The military uses it on their badges. The police department uses it. The educational institutions, colleges, university, government buildings, all kinds of businesses and institutions around the world in every country uses the sun as a symbol. And there are a lot of companies that go with the name sun. And so I think that's the most important symbol ever developed, was the sun. And then, of course, we know that there's another symbol that's been used for thousands of years, many thousands of years. There's the cross. The cross of Christianity has been used many thousands of years before Christianity. The cross has been used by many, many ancient cultures of the world. So the sun and the cross are two very important symbols that have been used for countless thousands of years. And today the sun symbol is so important to the human race because most people don't know why. It's everywhere, but why? And what is the implication of using the sun? So we can talk about that later if you wish to also. But I would say the sun and the cross are two important symbols.
Okay, we'll see if we can get back to that. We just have we try and get through the questions first. Steve, next one.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting in relation to the sun. That's why we do our show on Sunday.
Sunday.
Or Horus, I think, is also what the sun is known as. Anyway, question 2, Jordan. How do we change things? What do we have to do to make this world a better place?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of how we humans can change things. I don't think we can. I don't think we are able to change anything. We don't have the power to do that. We as humans don't have the power to change anything. And the reason why is because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Once you have knowledge, now you can do things. Now you can change. But if you don't know what's going on, you haven't got the faintest idea because you've never learned how things work, then you really can't change anything. I mean, you can own a Rolls Royce and be on a major highway. But if it breaks down, you don't know how to fix it, so you're just going to sit there because you don't know how to fix anything. It's knowledge that gives you power. And that's why I want to continue to promote the idea of getting knowledge about how your world works. So if you ever suspecting that you could probably do something to help the world, you're not going to do it unless you are highly educated. You need to realize and understand how the world really works and what you need to do about it. So I believe people are waking up around the world realizing that there's something wrong on the earth, and it very well might be something very scary and very frightening to people. But you better wake up and understand you are not in charge of anything. The world is a very big and powerful place that we live in. And there are other people who are far, far wiser than we are, who run our governments, who run the banks, who run business, and the whole world is lying in the power of the dark principles of the whole world is lying in the power of the devil. That's what the Bible says.
Okay, Jordan, what percentage of the population of the world would need to be awake to a certain level for us to affect change? And what percentage do you reckon are currently awake?
I think 2 to 3% of the world were to wake up. It would change the whole entire humanity, because in the beginning of the what I call the American Revolution, there was only about 2% of the male population that were here in North America that rose up and took up arms against the tyranny of the European monarchies and founded the United States of America. Only 2%, 98%, it was estimated, 98% of the male population in this country and in the States only took up arms, so that they were 98% didn't do anything. Albert Einstein said that the world is a very dangerous place, not because bad people do bad things, but because good people do nothing. And so that's what I believe is only about 2% were to wake up. The rest of the world would hear it and learn and do something about it. But we only have a small, tiny percent of people who really care and who really want to know. And then you've got people on the earth who don't know they're even alive. They don't care. They don't understand. They don't know. As long as they got food in their belly, and they got cold beer and the television and entertainment, the ball games. They don't care about the future. They don't even know there is a future. They don't know where they've come from. They have no idea where they are now, and they couldn't care less. So until you wake up and start educating yourself to the world you live in, I don't think we humans can change anything.
I'm very sad to hear that, because it kind of sounds to me like it's good night, Irene, for a lot of people. I know people like your good self and other people who are kind of on the scene, who have been trying to affect change and wake people up, to educate people, so that collectively we can make a change. And I know people have been doing it for quite a long time. And what do you see for the future? Do you think we will see change in your lifetime, in our lifetime, or is it just wishful thinking?
Well, we're seeing change all the time. I think the key to the understanding has to be that you, for the first time, you as the public around the world, need to wake up to the overwhelmingly obvious fact that the people who are in power are there because they love political power. They want to be special. They want to have control over you. They want to have control over situations. They love the power. Most people, good people, who are not criminally minded, just want to live their life and raise their children and love and have friends and just live their life. They're not interested in having political power over other people, to force other people to do what they want them to do. But there are a lot of people in the world who are power hungry. They want to control other people, and they are psychotic, mentally deranged. And this is what we find in government today around the world. The people who rise to the top in this world in politics, religion, government, and in positions of authority are usually psychotic criminals. They want the power. They will do anything to get into position to be able to do what they want to do and force you to do what they want you to do. And so you just have to understand that's the way the world is. The people in power are usually ignorant, ill-informed, dim-witted, and stupid, a bunch of alcoholics, and they're on drugs, but they want the power. Most good people are not interested in ruling their fellow man. They just want to be left alone to live their lives. And so that's the problem. We have to realize that the people who are in power are not who you think they are. They're not the wonderful, fine people who are leading you and leading your government. No, they're a bunch of criminals, period. The end of the sentence is they are criminal, and they're faking. They don't care about you. They've never cared about you. They care about themselves and their own power and their money and their way of living. And they want to force that on you. And so I see and I understand that the United States is a very powerful country. Not because the people are wonderful. It's because the government is a very extremely violent, powerful government. And they will do things around the world to force people to do what they want them to do. And America today, America is the Roman Empire, the new Roman Empire. And we are today, if you go back in history and read the way Rome ruled the world, that's the way we do it in America, the same way they did it in Rome. And if you go back and look at the history of the European people, Europe has been around for thousands of years, and they have been controlling the world from Europe. All the different European countries have dominated the planet. And there has been one power that has dominated Europe, and that is Rome. Rome dominated Europe, and Europe dominates the world. And so, therefore, we say all roads lead to Rome. And that's exactly what's happening. All roads lead to Rome. The road of illicit narcotics, buying and selling of drugs, that's Roman. That goes back to the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, out of Italy. The Roman Senate, in America, we have a Senate like Rome had a Senate. And the history book said that we are like the Roman Empire because Caesar, the reference works say that Caesar, every morning in Rome, he would go up on the hill because the government of the Roman Empire was up on a hill. It was called Capitol Hill. Well, we have a Capitol Hill today, too. In America, we have a Capitol Hill, and Caesar is God. He presents himself as God. So I think it's important for people to realize that their national leaders and their educational and religious leaders are all lying criminals.
Exactly, and that's what we say here in Ireland. What's going on over here? It's a cesspit of corruption at the moment. Yeah. It's worldwide, and Ireland's no different. We have the same thing over here, and it's just criminal what's going on and what's happening to the people. But, hopefully with the, people waking up and the changes taking place globally, that will be sorted in the near future. We have more questions for you there, Jordan. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, I know you say it's criminal what's happening, what the government's doing. It's criminal that the people are letting it happen as well, because there are some people, the I'm all right jacks, not in my backyard, and if it doesn't affect them, then they're not quite interested in them. And that's something that you touched on there just moments ago, Jordan. You were kind of saying there are people who, they're good people, they just want to kind of get through this life and do what needs to be done and look after their children and live in love, and they don't really bother with too much. And it's those people, if those people, if we can't wake them up because they don't want to be woken up, they just want to get to the end of this journey that they're on in love, but without kind of rocking the boat, as I say, does that make them bad people?
No, but there will not. But when the end comes, there will be no innocent bystanders. I do not believe in the idea of innocent bystanders because you are guilty of going along to get along. You have accepted the governmental systems. You've accepted the religious beliefs. You've accepted the way operation on the earth happens. You have accepted it. You go along with it. And so don't say that you were innocent. You were you were misled. You were not innocent. Because you've got a mind of your own if you just use it instead of drinking your beer and watching ball games. If you just think for a moment and educate yourself and go to a library. Today you have the web. You can go on the web and read and study and go to YouTube and listen to lectures. You can listen to important people. You can learn how the world works. But most people don't take advantage of that. They're not interested. They only want to hear about the football game or the basketball game or the latest movie to entertain them. They're not interested to hear how the world really works. Well, then if it takes advantage of you and you end up in court and you have to go to jail, or you get ripped off and stolen and people rip you off and leave you for dead, well, you should wake up and learn how the world works. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm telling you, there's a whole entire world of knowledge that people are not aware of. They've never been told. I've known about it for many years, and you would be shocked to know how much incredible criminality is going on the earth today that people do not see at all. They don't hear it, they don't see it, they don't know anything about it, but it's incredibly bad in front of you, right in your face, and you don't see it. And my particular take on it is that I think religion is the problem. One of the biggest problems we face in the world today is the ignorance of theology and religion. Religion should be a science. But in point of fact, what we have is science is a religion. It's supposed to be the other way.
Yeah.
I would think religion should be a science. But science is a religion. Today they have their holy books, they have their holy saints, and they will pontificate. The scientists will tell you things that this is the way it is, and this is how science has found out that this is this and that, and they will tell you all about what they know. And then 10 years from today, you will find out that they didn't know anything. It's all different. Every 10 years, everything is all different than what we thought before. Why? Because we're learning more. We now know how much we don't know. And so I think the worst part is that as religion and the people's knowledge of how the world works in power, how power works, it's filled with lies and deception.
I think with the help of the internet, Jordan, it's made a big advance in educating people because we could share information and we didn't have to rely on the lamestream media with all their fake news and propaganda. And the internet was a catalyst that helped so many people. I know they did want to use it as a propaganda mechanism to again fool people into their plans and their ideas, and again take away the people's freedoms. But the internet was used to educate people, and that's kind of really backfired on them in a big way. But we have more questions for you there, Steve.
Yes, we do. So many questions. People are already looking for a part 2, 3, and a part 4 because there's so much information, so much to get through. But Jordan, Shane is wondering, can you ask Jordan what the name of the church in Rome? What's the name of the church in Rome where the crosses are upside down and only the Pope can say Mass there? He says he thinks it's something like a black church or something. I've never heard of that. Is that something you can talk about?
I don't know the name of the church. I know what they're talking about. I don't recall the name of that church, no. But I do think that one of the most important churches in all of Italy is the Church of Gesù. G as in God. G-E-S-U. The Church of Gesù. The Church of Gesù is in Rome. It is the home office of the Jesuits. The Jesuits have their own church. It's called the Church of Gesù. And it is very, very interesting, the stuff that's going on in that church, which is the home church for the Jesuit order. And I am totally sure that there's Jesuits involved in the underworld around the earth. And the reason why is because of the symbols which are used, the words, the terms, and the symbols. And that's something I've been looking at for some 60 years, is the symbolism in world government, world religion, and world finance, world education. There are really big telltale signs. Once you begin to see the signs, it's called pattern recognition. You begin to see certain signs that will, 400 or 500 years old, 1,000 years old, and you know what they meant back then, and now you're seeing them today still. And so you need to study the history of the world and how we got to be where we are today, and then you will finally see who's running our world today and why.
A lot of questions. We're going to jump around a little bit here. Chris asked earlier, Jordan, do you know what's going on in Antarctica? Any news on just exactly what the hell's going on down there?
Well, actually, no, I don't. But I have heard stories from people who do. And there's obviously something going on because too many important people are showing concern. They're going down there and they're very concerned. Military, churches, religious figures, a lot of people, the astronauts. So there must be something going on down there that they haven't told us. The one man that I love to hear talk about those kind of subjects is, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant men that I've ever heard. His name is Joseph Farrell. Farrell, Joseph Farrell. If you go on the web and listen to Joseph Farrell's lectures on radio, he is very well informed about the stuff that's going on behind the scenes in Antarctica and the Nazi Party, the Communist Party, a world revolution. Extremely interesting man. And another man who's very interesting about that subject of what's going on in Antarctica is Peter Levenda, Levenda. Peter Levenda is extraordinarily brilliant man. And I love listening to both Peter Levenda and Joseph Farrell because they are well informed and they are very highly and articulate and very easy to listen to and understand, but they're telling you exactly what's happening down there. And so I know there's something going on, and I suspect it has to do with extraterrestrial knowledge. Something's been found down there that is scaring the people in power around the world, people who are very powerful people, industrialists, military, religious people who are very powerful people in this world. They are being scared and frightened, and they're going down there to look and see what they have found. So I'm sure there's something otherworldly going on down there. It's just that I don't know. I haven't been there myself. But I am listening to Peter Levenda and Joseph Farrell. They are the ones that are really well informed. So
okay, we have those names, and we pop them on the chat room, and suggest that people do check them out as well. It'd be interesting to see what they've actually got down there, and what exactly it's capable of doing. What about the moon? Jordan, a lot of people speculate that on the dark side of the moon that, well, A, it's hollow, it's an artificial light, and B, that there's a moon base up there. What's your thoughts on that?
Can I just add to that apparently recently NASA, well, we never believe NASA, but NASA have said that the moon is in Earth's atmosphere. This is the latest thing that's come out.
Oh. Well, I have also been aware that I believe the moon is hollow. I believe it has a metal superstructure and is hollow. It was designed and brought here. I think the moon was actually brought here a long time ago. It was designed perfectly, the exact size it's supposed to be. I've heard scientists who know, they say that the moon is far too big of a heavenly body to be connected to the Earth. The moon is too big of a satellite for the Earth. But why is it the size it is? Because on the solar eclipse, the moon is exactly the same size in the sky as the sun. How is that possible? And so there's a reason why I think that the moon was developed and built and brought here purposely. And it's hollow, and it has a superstructure of metal. And that is very interesting, but I also think that there's something going on right now on the planet of Saturn. Saturn is very important to what's happening today in the world. And I have talked with people, scientists who work with NASA, tell me about the planet Saturn. And they're showing me pictures that Saturn is inhabited. We know something is there, some kind of a life form is there in the planet Saturn. And I don't mean on Saturn, I mean in it. And so the most important story I think about the extraterrestrial presence of what's going on in the world today has to do with the Bible's account, the biblical account of how life started. The first chapter of Genesis is totally misunderstood. But when you see what the words really mean, what the original text was saying, it bears no resemblance to the way people understand God in religion today. If you go back and read Genesis 1 and the second chapter and the third chapter, probably up to about the 9th or 10th chapter, The first 10 chapters of Genesis are telling you a story that you will not believe when you finally see what it's actually saying, because we've never been told the real truth about what Genesis, the first 10 chapters, are actually saying. And the church has purposely deceived the people. But if you go back and look at the story in Genesis 1, the first chapter, it will blow your mind when you see what the words really mean and what it was actually saying. And then you will see how much you have not known about God and religion and where man comes from.
Where does the Nephilim fit in the book of Genesis?
Well, that's what we're going. That's what we're heading for.
Okay.
Because Adam is a different kind of creature, and so what the Bible is saying, the gods, more than one, the Elohim, the gods came here from where? From out there. Ask any 8-year-old where God is. He'll point out there in space. He's out there in heaven, right? Well, if he's out there, that means he's extraterrestrial. He's not from here. And so if his God's out there, he's out there, and he's extraterrestrial. And God came here. The one what we call the gods, they came here, and there was already people on the earth that were called Neanderthal, the Cro-Magnon man. All of these creatures that we look at today, we know that they exist because we have the skeletal remains. And they look like animals. They look like they walk upright, but they were hairy and lived like animals. And we associate them with monkeys and with chimpanzees. No, they were Neanderthal. They had the brains of a monkey. And today we got a lot of men on the earth who are like Neanderthal. They act like a bunch of monkeys, but they're not. They are Adam. Adam is remaking the creatures that were here. So what I'm saying is that God, or the gods in the plural, came here from outer space. They came here and they looked at what was already here. What was already here was Ish. Ish was man. And so we have the Cro-Magnon man, the Peking man, the Neanderthal man. So man was already here. But when the gods came here, they took one look at them people that were here and said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let's make him to look like us. And that means let's take one of the females and procreate with her. Let's put our DNA in one of these females and see what she gives birth to, just for the hell of it. Let's just put our DNA in her and let's see what she gives birth to. So they put DNA into one of the females, and they put a special place on earth that they surrounded it, so none of the other animals and none of the other Ish could come in and disturb anything. So they put the female and a male in an area we call the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was simply a small area on the earth that was being protected for this experiment. And so the gods, more than one, came here and they saw the Ish man, whatever he was, a Peking man, the Neanderthal man, whatever these ancient creatures were. They walked upright like us. They looked like us. But they were hairy and mostly looked like what we would refer to as cavemen. And so the gods said, come, let us make man like us, to look like us, in our image and after our likeness. And so, therefore, the gods took one of the females, put her in a safe place, and procreated with her and changed our DNA. And so we come from the Neanderthal man, but we are a lot different than what those old cavemen kind of creatures. We call them in science the hominids. The hominid creatures were what we think of as the ancient cavemen. And so today we're different. We don't live in caves. We wouldn't exist in a cave. Our skin is too thin that we couldn't live in the terrible cold. And we don't live like these cavemen. We live a different kind of life. And therefore, half of us is spiritual and the other half is physical. And it's because we are the Adam, not A-D-A-M, Adam. No, go back and read it in Hebrew. Adam, A-D-M only, just A-D-M. A-D-M simply means a different kind of creature. And so therefore the gods came here, they saw the Ish, the ancient man, and they said, come, let us make him look like us. So he will be like us, and he will look like us, and be like us. Well, that's scary if you think about it, because later on we read in Genesis 18, the 18th chapter, where Abraham and his wife were in the tent, and it says Abraham saw three men come walking into the camp, and they come walking up to his tent. And it says Abraham went out and bowed down, his face on the ground, bowed down, and said, what is my Lord saying to his servant? So we're told there that Abraham realized that these three men were the gods. And he bows down and says, what is my Lord saying to his servant? And the three men said that they were on their way to do some business, and they were passing through. And Abraham said, no, let me fix you something to eat first. And so we're told in Genesis 18 that Abraham's wife fixed dinner for the three men, and they were handsome men. So we're created in the image and the likeness of the gods who came here from another world a long time ago and recreated us. We were Ish until they came here, then made us into Adam.
Okay, it's interesting because I came across a chap called Claude Royale, which is a French racing driver, and he had an ET experience in the 70s, and he wrote a book, and I can't think of the name of the book at the moment. I think it's called The Face of God or something like that. But the Raelian movement was rael.org is the website, and he talks about going into the craft for ETs, and he talks about the Elohim, and he talks about them coming down and different groups of the Elohim experimenting with genetics on the Neanderthals that were on the planet at the moment.
Well, that's what the Bible says.